Hello, my beautiful people. Welcome to your weekly general tarot scope with me, Raphael from Radiant Reality. It's an absolute pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for joining me. If you haven't already, please don't forget to like, share, and if you should so choose and it resonates, hit that subscribe button. If you are already a continued subby, you know I love you for it. With that said, if you would like to book a personal reading with me, you can do so on the website addressed below. And before we start, as always, I would like to bless my decks of cards with all forms of love, light, peace, prosperity, and abundance. And I pray that the messages that come through are ultimately clear and concise and they help you on your, or shall I say us, all of us, on our paths to our highest vibrational good. So when I went into my intuition this week, your message was regeneration. But what I want to tell you is the way that I came to this word, right? So I went into my intuition, and as I was sitting there, this giant snake sort of leapt at me. It was huge, and it snapped at me at first. And you know, the first sort of instinct for most people would be like, "Arr!" But I literally said to myself, "What is the message here?" So it like literally, and then it stopped, and then as it kind of sort of slid or slithered up, I realised it was actually taller than I was. Like it was huge, just this massive, huge snake. So rather than try to combat it or fight it, what I did was sit down in a cross-legged pose, you know, almost as if I was meditating. As I did that, it grew much smaller, looked at me, and then it kind of coiled itself around me and it sat with its head sort of just like that at my left hand side. And what I took away from that is sometimes things, current climate, come at us in life that can be really, really terrifying, that can be really stressful, that can be moments that incite fear or, you know, all kinds of incite all sorts of feelings within us. However, if we meet them with calmness, compassion for ourselves and for any feelings that we may be feeling, if we meet them with a tempered outlook and a sense of understanding and peace that comes from within, just to still yourself and to observe what's happening and ask yourself, what does this mean for me? You can gain so much from it. The process and the word that I understand that I attach to snakes, along with many other things, is regeneration. That regeneration can only take place if you are ready, willing, and able to still yourself and go within. This really does feel like a week where we are going to start regenerating, and I think like this is for everybody. Whatever it is that you were afraid to do, whatever it is that you were afraid to say, whatever it is that you are that you know have had some sort of fear around, this week I feel like we're all going to claim that. Just like I did with the snake, right? I say claim it, I didn't claim it. It kind of claimed me because I refused to, you know, I refused to do this with it. I just said, okay, you know what? What do you want to teach me? What do you want to show me? And what its message was is, you know, is exactly that. There is deep regeneration that will come from within this week for all of us in some way, shape, or form. And that is going to happen when you can just accept where you are at and ultimately understand that all things, the nature of all things, is change, rebirth, and regeneration. So let's have a look see at the destiny card for the week ahead. Okay, and she's jumped straight out, and it is the High Priestess. There we go. So what is the High Priestess? She is all things intuitive, psychic. She is the inner awareness come to life. Now, the thing about the High Priestess, she doesn't communicate in words. She doesn't tell you things. She whispers them. She sneaks into your dreams. She's the feeling that you get when the wind hovers over your skin in a certain way that makes you think, oh, okay, maybe I should check in with that person, or maybe I should do this, or maybe I should take a different route to work today, or all of those things. I mean, maybe not route to work at the moment, but you get my point. Your High Priestess will always communicate with you through feelings, through intuitions, through dreams, through the other world, right? And it's really interesting, and you guys, my subbies, will know this. For weeks this card kept coming up, and one of the biggest things that I thought about yesterday, and I was just like, You know what? There it is. The High Priestess can actually represent a person wearing a veil. And if you think about it at the moment, what is everybody wearing, right? On a real, sometimes tarot gets really, really fucking literal, and it just sort of gives it to you bare bones. And I didn't click until yesterday, and I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, okay, totally makes sense. That now I'm aware of what it was showing me and why it kept showing up. The other thing with the High Priestess, she's hidden things revealed. This could be, especially with the snake as the totem, what is this about? It's about revealing what is within. When you regenerate, when you shed a skin, something new is revealed. And sometimes that thing is a secret. Sometimes it is something that you have held on to, something that you haven't shared, something that somebody hasn't shared with you. When we talk about hidden things being revealed, this is about things coming to light or seeing the light of day. The High Priestess is very often those things. She's the things that come out of the shadows. And that's not to scare you or anything like that. It's not saying like, oh, it's going to be something dark. It could, you know, I've seen this card represent hidden money. I've seen this card represent hidden objects as well, depending on the cards that were attending. You know, as an example, I remember telling somebody, you know what, the object that you're looking for is hidden. Like it's in the place that you're at. It's in the home, but it's hidden. Like it's and maybe you've put it away. And they were like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. I remember now. And they went and found the item. I've seen this card represent money that people didn't realise they were entitled to, money that they didn't even realise was theirs, that somebody had left them in a will, etc. So when we talk about hidden things coming to light, it doesn't always have to be sort of this dark, scary thing that everybody makes it. Sometimes things come to light that haven't seen the light of day. And for that reason, we call them hidden, right? This is a very powerful week for intuitive persons. If you are any way spiritual, psychic, or intuitive, this week you will notice that it is absolutely on point. It's not on the fritz. It's just that in many ways as well, you can see this, right? It's really interesting because I've got so many emails telling me, you know, I'm having crazy dreams, my intuition's on point, my feelings are going through the roof. It's a very intense time for everybody. We're all feeling this. The other thing is a lot of people are telling me that they're seeing a lot of repeating numbers. What does this mean? It means that in a global sense, we are heading towards a very big shift in some way, shape or form. We've been seeing this come through for a while, right? If you've been on my channel for long enough, you will know I've been talking about certain incremental steps, you know, where we were seeing things sort of move in certain directions. And here we are now, we're seeing the process. So this week, be on the lookout. And also, if you feel that intuitive nudge to do something or to say something, follow it. It might not make sense at the time, but it is absolutely a message for you to move through or follow through on. The other thing is as well, this week, if you feel moved to say something to someone, to tell someone something, do it, because you know, you never know, you could be really helping them. It might be something that they really need, then it might need to hear, and it might be something that you really need to get off your chest. Even if this is a secret of your own that you've been holding on to for the longest time, this could be a really great week for you to divulge said things. So for the direction card, let's give it some context and see what it might sort of pertain to. So okay, interestingly enough as well, we have a full moon happening this week, right? On the 7th. And the High Priestess is the moon. She is the moon itself, the lunar being, or the lunar goddess as I like to call her. So here we have the 9 of Wands as the direction. Isn't that interesting, right? One of the things that I always say about this card is, it's time for you to speak your truth. It's time for you to stand up and be counted. It's time for you to say what it is that you've been thinking, whatever it is that you've been holding on to. The 9 of Wands, it can sometimes as an experience be where somebody doesn't feel like they've been heard, doesn't feel like they've been listened to. As a direction card, it asks you to think about how you feel and to speak on those things. You know, whether this is, for some of you, this will be a secret. Maybe it's about your relationship, maybe it's about your job, maybe it's about where you see your life going. For some of you, this could be something really simple, you know, on a simple level. It could just be, you know what, I haven't really said the words out loud, but I feel A, B, and C. This is a week for you to not only get in touch with what you feel, but to speak on it as well. I feel like a lot of us, in many ways, shapes, and forms, are going to start to think about emptying the internal closet this week, whatever that means to you. And, you know, with a word like regeneration, when you think about the motif that I told you about, this is exactly it, right? This is this ability to say, right, you know what, I need to empty the stuff out. And I'll give you an example. With a wound, right, you have to clean it in order for it to heal properly. You have to take out the, you know, like when you, I remember once, oh my gosh, when I was little, I was playing around with my sister and I swiped the wall and a piece of wood went right underneath my nail. I mean, like literally right underneath it, and just got wedged in there. And I tell you, probably one of the most painful things that I can remember from my childhood, like in terms of physical accidents and stuff. And I tell you, it just wouldn't heal until they could get the piece out. And obviously, because it hurt so much and I was frantic, they couldn't get the thing out in order for it to heal. So they had to wait for a while for it to kind of push itself out enough and then numb it so that they could take the bloody thing out. But and this is my point. Until you empty out the internal closets, right? The soul, the psyche, the spirit, the mind, the emotions, all of it. Until you empty those things out of what's been stagnant or clogged up there, you're not going to be able to go through this process of regeneration. So this is a week for you to really think about this stuff. What is it that you're holding on to? What is it that you haven't spoken on? What is it that you haven't said? What is it that you don't want to say? This is a time for you to find a way to say it, to share this stuff with your people, with your loved ones, with your, you know, with the wider world at large, if you feel so inclined. The other thing is with the Nine of Wands as well. This is very often about it can be about, you know, either military personnel. It can be about people that work in service on the front line of some sort. It's a very uniform orientated card, and look at this, right, it falls right next to the High Priestess. So this week we could see, we're very likely to see a lot of people that work. I mean, we're already seeing bits of it, but I think this week it's going to be really heightened. I think this week we are really going to get an inside look from people that are on the front line themselves. I think we're going to get a real insight into the toll that this is taking on them personally, whether this is their emotions, whether it's their physical health, whether it is, you know, all of this stuff combined. I think this week we're going to see a lot of this kind of shaping up, you know, what's beautiful about it is this whole thing about regeneration, right? It means that by sharing this stuff, I think a lot of people are going to stand up to say, look, you know what do you need? How can we help you? This is a really beautiful time where so many people are pulling together and helping each other, which is such an amazing thing to see. And I think we're going to see more of that, but it will come off the back of getting a real inside look at the toll this is taking on the people that are working on our behalf. All right, so the insight card is what is coming in. This week we have the Eight of Wands, right? So this is actually some good news. This tells me that there is going to be a lot of information going back and forth. It does look like there's going to be a lot of contact this week from, and this is the thing, there's a lot of this happening at the moment, right? There's lots of communication flying back and forth. I actually feel like that, as if it were even possible, is going to ramp up even more so. With your High Priestess, this could be that there are, there's new, what do you call it? Not bulletins, but new ways of communicating, new ways of creating community online. I feel like this might be something that is really pushed forward this week, which is really nice to see. The other thing is, it does look like there's something going on with the rural areas or the land this week. So wherever you are, keep an eye on those, because I feel like it might become relevant. And with your direction card there, with your Nine of Wands, Interesting, right? Because we've got the 8 and the 9. When you see a sequence of numbers, when you see a sequence of numbers going up or going down the scale, it means that things are speeding up. And this 8 of Wands is already a very fast card in and of itself. As an insight card, what it tells me in terms of regeneration, this is, I think you're going to see a lot of communication this week. I think a lot of people are going to want to voice their opinions, to say how they feel. I think a lot of people are actually going to reach out to do what they can to help more people on a bigger scale this week as well. It's going to be an interesting week for sure. With that said, please drop a comment in the comment section. It's been absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much for all of your amazing comments. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being a part of the Radiant Reality community, and thank you as well for reaching out to each other. I'm seeing so many people talk to each other and help each other, and that's what Radiant Reality is, right? I always say it's a community, so it's really nice to see you guys treating each other that way. And it makes me really humbled to be a part of it. So thank you so much. I wish you all an abundance of love, light, peace, prosperity, and abundance itself. So things to note, that full moon is going to be quite intense, but it's also going to produce a lot of ideas. It's also going to really get people to start thinking about what they can do to help. It's going to make everybody in many ways a lot more considerate. And one thing that I think is probably going to happen this week as well, you'll notice, and it's not just because it's a full moon, everybody's going to be slightly more emotional than they usually are. So even people that you wouldn't necessarily consider to be emotional, if you see that from them, you understand why. It's a big part of the energy. You might hear people saying stuff like, maybe some of it as well could be things that you've already thought. Some of it could be things that you've already, kind of felt or just waited for somebody to say, and then all of a sudden they say it. Be kind, be open, be present, and above all, be good to each other. Take care, and I'll see you soon.